Alright people, welcome. DevOps Rob, and I'm here with the 2021 desk tour. Now a lot has changed since the last time I did a test tour, which I think was around about 6 months ago. So I'm doing a lot more things now. You know, I'm still doing work as a developer advocate, but I'm doing a lot more live streaming now, and I'm doing a lot more gaming. So I've had to evolve my setup to accommodate some of these things here. So we have some new additions, some really exciting things that we're just going to walk through what the desk setup looks like today. Before we continue, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating content like this for you. All right, let's crack on. Now, the first thing that I'm going to show you here is my new Apple Mac Pro. Now, if you remember in my last desk tour, I'll link it below. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. I was using the MacBook Pro 16-inch laptop, and that was okay for what it was, but I was having some resourcing issues there. So I decided to upgrade and go all the way to get the Mac Pro itself. And this thing is a beast, man. I'm telling you, it's a beast. Like, it's 48 gigs RAM. You've got the W5500X GPU, which is built into that. You have 2 terabytes of storage. You have the 8-core Intel Xeon CPU processor. Man, it's a beast. It just does everything that I need it to do. So that's what I'm using in my day-to-day, from coding to running development environments to streaming and video editing and just pretty much everything, right? So the Mac Pro, you know, highly recommended, except it comes at a price. It's really, really expensive. Like, you can get a more powerful PC for less than money. I really like the Apple ecosystem. You know, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say well invested into it, but I understand it really well, and you know, I have a lot of experience with it, so it works really well for me. Now, in terms of monitor, I connect up my Apple Mac Pro to this huge Samsung 49-inch ultra-wide monitor, and again, this is a beast of a monitor for a beast of a machine. You know, I absolutely love this thing. It's just insane, right? So you have 49 inches of real estate, which the way that I use it is as a dual screen. So I use it as 2 monitors, right? So it's like having 2 27-inch monitors side by side, but you don't have a bezel in the middle. So it just makes it really nice and smooth, and it just looks really pleasant on the eye. Now, there are times, especially when I'm doing things like video editing, where using the entire 49-inch screen as one monitor is beneficial. You know, you think about using a piece of software like Adobe Premiere Pro, and you have this long timeline that you need to edit different parts of footage for. Just having all of that screen real estate, it just makes your productivity just a lot more efficient. Moving on from that, I use the Belkin Thunderbolt 3 Pro dock. Now, it's this one cable that goes from this docking station to my Apple Mac Pro. And then I can connect all of my USB peripherals directly to this dock. So, you know, it makes, you know, access, because at the moment my Mac is under my desk. So if I need to plug things in, I'd have to sort of crawl underneath the desk and, you know, do all these inconvenient things. But having this dock on my desk just means that if I need to plug something in quickly, I can literally just reach over to the back of my desk and pop it in. Again, it's pretty pricey, but you know, for the convenience I get from it, it's just well worth the money, in my opinion. Now, in terms of peripherals, I'm using a combination of the Apple Magic Mouse, which came with the Apple Mac Pro, and what featured in my last desk tour, which is the Apple Magic Trackpad. Now, the trackpad has been relegated a little bit. I still use it every single day, but it literally has one main function for me, which is swiping between different desktops. I use the Apple Magic Mouse just for my actual mouse activity. Do I like the Apple Magic Mouse? I mean, it looks really good, but it's probably not the most comfortable mouse out there. So I more than likely will be looking to upgrade that at some point in the future. But in terms of the mouse, what I use in addition to the Apple Magic Mouse is the Delta Hub mouse wrist rest. Now it's a really nice wrist rest that sits in the base of your palm, and you just literally just grab the mouse on top of that and you can move it around as you need to. So it makes sure that your hand and your wrist has the right posture so that you're not going to get all of these cramps and different pains in your wrist. Right, so highly recommended. I'll link it in the description below just in case you've never heard of it. Now, moving on from the mouse and the trackpad, the next peripheral is something that featured in my last desk tour as well, which is my keyboard. And I've opted to go with the Keychron K2 wireless mechanical keyboard. All the nice things that I said about it in my last desk tour still stand today. The only annoying thing about it is there's no warning when the battery is going to run out. But that aside, the keyboard is absolutely mint. It works perfectly for me, and I wouldn't change it for anything else. Now, moving on from the peripherals, a huge part of my productivity is my Apple iPad. Now, I use that for a number of different things, from taking notes in a meeting or drawing diagrams just to try and understand different technical aspects a bit better. Or sometimes it's just drawing mind maps just to organize my thoughts and just have something that's a bit more understandable when I come back to it the next day. It just has so many different uses for me, and it enables my productivity tenfold. But the reason why it does that is because I've gone and got the Apple Pencil to go with it. So the Apple iPad is great by itself, but I wouldn't get the value that I get out of it without using that Apple Pencil. So definitely, if you're gonna get the iPad, just spring the extra money if you can to get the pencil to go with it, because it will make a world of difference to your productivity. Now, moving on to the subject of audio. I've added some new audio pieces to my setup. So that's one of the improvements that I've made since the last desk tour. And the best place to start when it comes to that is the Audio Engine A2 Plus wireless speakers. And these things are just sensational. You know, I can't even think of a better word. It's just really nice speakers. And these things, they're tiny, you know, like you see pictures of them online and you think, okay, cool. But when they turn up and you see them in person, they're smaller than they look online. But the sound that comes out of them is absolutely crisp. Now, in terms of headphones, you'll probably remember from my last desk tour, I was using the Bose QC2 headphones, and nothing has changed since then. All the things that I said about it are still true 6 months later. You know, I think at the time I'd probably had it for maybe a year or something like that. They are still the most comfortable headphones I've ever come across. I still am totally in love with the sound that comes from it. So I use it for in general meetings. I use it for listening to music when my wife is in a meeting because we share an office, or just times when I can't use my speakers for whatever reason. They are my go-to. But they are Bluetooth. And as we know, Bluetooth can be unreliable from time to time. And because I'm doing a lot more streaming, I cannot afford to have Bluetooth reliability issues during a live stream. So because of that, I've opted to get the Shure SC215 wired headphones, right? Now these headphones, I believe that a lot of professional musicians use it whilst they're on stage. So for me, I've just got this wired straight into my Native Instruments audio interface. So I'm using the Complete Audio 1 audio interface. Now, I think I mentioned that one in my last desk tour as well. All the nice things about it are still true. All the drawbacks about it, again, are still true, but I found ways to work with it. Pro tip, if you are gonna get the Shure SC215 headphones, you don't get much slack on the cable, so you can buy an extension cable for it so that you're not kind of wheeled tight to the desk to be able to plug that into your audio interface. So definitely recommend grabbing that. I'll leave just links for all these things in the description below. We've mentioned the Native Instruments Complete Audio 1. In addition to that, I also have the Go XLR, which is a combination of an audio interface. It's also a mixer. It's a sampler. You know, it's almost like a complete all-in-one audio package for streamers. Now, in terms of microphone, I'm still using the Rode PodMic. It's still a fantastic microphone. I love the audio quality from it. I think it sounds really nice when you pair it up with the Go XLR. There's just something about that combination. It just sounds really crisp. Now, in terms of how I mount this, I'm actually using the Rode PSA-1 microphone boom arm. And you know, it's the only boom arm that I've found on the market that just handles the weight of this microphone comfortably. However I place the microphone, it just stays like that until I move it. With this, you know, it's just the best boom arm I've ever come across. You know, if I just bring it here and just put it up like that, it stays there. Move it down a little bit, it stays there, you know. If I just want to put it away just like that, it stays there. There's no springing out of position or anything like that. So definitely, if you're going to get a heavy mic, especially something like the Rode PodMic, highly recommend the Rode PSA 1 boom arm. Now, that kind of sums up the productivity side of things and the audio setup. So let's kind of move into the streaming realm and see some of the things that I have added to my setup for streaming, some of the things that I was already using. Now, you'll remember from my last desk tour that I mentioned that I was using the Elgato Stream Deck, and I still use that. This is actually a bit more integral to my day-to-day than it used to be. I don't just use it for streaming, I use it just for controlling my machines just every day for productivity reasons. But it's really powerful when it comes to streaming. You know, you can program almost anything. The integrations just go far and wide with this thing. I've added the Loop Deck Live in addition to the Stream Deck. Now, the reason why is the two devices pretty much do the same thing, but the Loop Deck Live has one advantage over it in the fact that it has 6 knobs. So that makes it really, really nice when you want to control different audio sources. So at the moment with my Stream Deck, if I have the ability to turn audio sources up and down, I'm going to keep pressing a button up or keep pressing a button down until it sounds right. And you know, that was okay until you try something like a Loop Deck Live, because you can now assign these same controls to the knobs. And it's much nicer just to be able to turn a knob up or turn it down to get the sound at the exact level that you want. In terms of controlling stream elements like changing scenes and all that kind of stuff there, yes, you can do all of that on there, and in some cases I do control some of these stream things here, but I kind of mainly use it because of audio control. So if I want to turn up my game volumes a little bit more, if I want to turn up the music or whatever it is, I tend to use that instead of, you know, because on my Go XLR I only have 4 sliders. So this kind of gives me 6 more granular control points for different audio sounds. So for me, the combination of a Stream Deck and the Loop Deck Live is a really, really good combination. Now, on the subject of Loop Deck Live, I also have a Loop Deck CT, which featured in my last desk tour. I still use this quite heavily, especially when I'm editing videos. Now, the funny thing about the Loop Deck Live and the Loop Deck CT is the Live is pretty much the same as the CT, except it doesn't have the bottom half of the CT, which has the some extra buttons and a huge jog wheel, which is really, really powerful when you're doing things like video editing. In terms of cameras, my camera setup is pretty much the same as the last time I did a desk tour. I'm still using the same cameras. However, the priority has now switched in terms of what I use more often than not. So before I was using the Logitech Brio as my day-to-day camera. That has now changed. I'm now using my Canon EOS M50 mirrorless camera as my day-to-day. So I use it from meetings to gaming live streams to professional work live streams, whatever it is. It's just my go-to A camera. I still have the Sony mirrorless camera as well, the A6100, which I'm speaking to right now. But I mainly use that for filmmaking now, and it's not so much involved in the everyday use. Now, in terms of mounting, I mentioned in my last desk tour that I was using the Elgato multi-mount system. At the time, I had 2 multi-mounts. You know, I find them really, really useful. So since then, I have purchased a further 4. So I'm now running a total of 6 Elgato multi-mounts. You know, I think I have 3 of them permanently set up on my desk, and I have another 3 which gives me some flexibility to be able to craft different kind of environments for different streams, or you know, different kind of filming sets or whatever it is that I'm trying to create. It just gives me that all-round flexibility. In terms of some of the accessories that I have for the multi-mount, I have now added the Elgato Heavy Bass to my collection as well. Really, really good piece of kit. It's extremely heavy, a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be. It's actually bigger than I thought it was going to be, but it gives it a nice solid base, so you can place like a really heavy camera on top of that. Now, the other thing that I did mention in my last video was the fact that I was using the Flex Arm kit. And since then, I've added another Flex Arm kit to the collection. You know, I've expanded the amount of multi-mounts, so I need just more of these arm kits. And I'm also using the solid arm kit as well, which you can probably see my camera is strapped to at the moment above my monitor. Let's talk about lighting. So again, this is nothing new from my last desk tour. I am still using the Elgato key lights. The only difference is now, instead of using just the one on a day-to-day and using the second one as a on-demand backup, I now use the two pretty much every day. I also have things like the PS5 camera, which if you're going to use a green screen with that, it requires a ton of light. So what I need is a light to light me, and then I need a light dedicated to my green screen so it can just light the green screen. Speaking of green screen, that was a nice segue. I use the Elgato green screen, right? So they have two types of green screens. They have the one that you can mount to the ceiling or wall, and then they have the collapsible one, which you literally just have an enclosure and you can just pull it up and put it back down again. I have the latter. It covers a big surface area. I mean, setup takes seconds. You literally just flip it open, turn the feet and pull it up and you're good to go. When it comes to putting it away, it's just the reverse. Literally within 10 seconds, you're set up, and within 10 seconds, you're ready to put it away. In terms of capture devices, I have a few different capture devices and they all come from Elgato again. So the first one that I have that I'll mention is the Elgato Camlink. Now I tend to use this because the camera that I'm speaking to right now, if I ever need a third camera for whatever reason, because this camera gives out a clean HDMI, I can literally just plug one cable from the camera into this Camlink. I just plug it via USB into my Mac or my PC and I have the camera feed just there. Now, the next capture device I have is the Elgato HD60S Plus, right? And I'm using that to capture my PS5 into my Mac. But in addition to that, I'm also using, so this is a new edition, this one, it's the Elgato 4K 60S Plus. It's quite similar, except it's a bigger device and you can record standalone. Moving on to the more gaming side of things. So, good place to start is my gaming PC, which consists of a NZXT H1 gaming case. Really, really nice case, which is, it looks just like the new Xbox. And inside that, I have the Asus ROG Strix X570i motherboard. And inside that motherboard, I've got 64 gig of RAM. I have the AMD Ryzen 3900X CPU chip. In terms of GPU, I am using the NVIDIA GeForce 3070. Now, these days, I am mainly a PC gamer, but I do occasionally play the PS5, which I mentioned previously. So I do have the PS5, which is the disc version. Now, moving on from the PS5, let's talk a little bit about my gaming peripherals. So we'll start with the Razer Black Widow Tournament Edition 10 keyless mechanical keyboard. Now that's what I'm using, generally speaking, for gaming. It's a really nice keyboard. I've had it for quite a while. I have seen no reason to really change it. Now, on the subject of keyboards, I also have a keypad, right? So I'm using the Razer Tartarus V2 keypad. Now, it's a really nice keypad if you are transitioning from console to PC. So I now have the Razer Balisys Ultimate, which I got the edition that comes with the charging dock as well. I mentioned about making the transition from control pad to keyboard and mouse. The thing that I like about this is it gives me extra buttons. So now I can do more things with the mouse when I'm playing a game. Now, staying on the subject of a mice, I am using the Razer Goliathus extended mouse mat. Talking of mouse mat, I have another mouse mat which I kind of hinted at earlier on, which is the Elgato green screen mouse mat. Now, I've only used it a couple of times in a few live streams. You know, I can link you to some videos from my live stream where I did a top-down camera, but it's nice because it adds that extra production value. I'm also using the Razer Siren X microphone. The reason why I have the Razer Siren X is the pod mic is great for capturing my audio when I'm playing by myself or when I'm streaming by myself. But I have a bit of family fun with my wife sometimes. Sometimes I'll have my nephew around and we'll be playing games together and we might do a live stream. Now, if we do a live stream, then the Razer Siren X is great because it can pick up all of our audios as opposed to something like the Rode PodMic, which is designed to sit right in front of your mouth to pick up that audio and not so much the sounds around it. Now, in terms of gaming headphones, I kind of moved away from Razer this time. I went with the Astro A50 wireless gaming headset. You know, I've been through quite a few gaming headsets. You've probably seen videos of me using the Corsair Virtuoso headset. I think I did an unboxing video and initial impressions video of that. I'll link that below as well. And then I've gone through so many different gaming headsets, but ultimately I came to the conclusion that the Astro A50 was the best one for me. And it's no surprise that when you look at things like Call of Duty League, it's Astro headsets that they're all using there. Now, finishing up this kind of desk tour from the gaming section, let's talk about control pads. And yeah, I have some of those. You can say I've kind of become a bit of a control pad collector. So starting off on the Razer tip, I have the Razer Raiju Tournament Edition control pad. When I started using it, it really surprised me. You know, it's one of my favorite control pads for anything that's not FPS. I like the fact it has a mobile app as well, so you can have different configurations stored in the mobile app and you can switch the configurations from your phone. Now, moving on from the Razer Raiju, I also have probably my favorite for FPS, which is the Scuf Gaming Infinity Pro control pad. Now, I've posted all sorts of videos around the Scuf gaming pads. I've done a comparison video between that and a PS5 DualSense control pad. But for me, it's, you know, I don't need to speak much more on it. It's the gold standard of FPS control pads. And on top of that, I'm using the Control Freaks just to give me a bit more extra precision when I'm playing games like Call of Duty. And finally, you know, it comes as no surprise to you, I have a PS5. So I also have the PS5 DualSense control pads. I have 2 of them along with the charging dock. But that wraps it up. That's my gaming / productivity / streaming desk tour for 2021. I'll probably hit you up with another desk tour in 6 months' time as things evolve. You know, we're always looking at ways we can tweak things and improve. So, you know, watch this space. But if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Just a reminder, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm also live on Twitch most weeks, so definitely check that out as well. I'll put a link for my Twitch channel in the description. So head over there and hit that follow button as well. And I will catch you on the next one. Peace out.